All right, let's talk about offers, buyers' offers, what they look like. I'm assuming that they've changed drastically for Toronto when the purchase price started going up, demand started going up, and all that, just as it has here. But I'm curious to know uh, what changes were made with buyers and offers and whatnot, because it's very competitive there. So if you could just share a little bit about what that looks like, like
Yeah,
let's talk about
yeah.
um, when a buyer submits an offer, what are they typically putting in their offer to remain competitive in that kind of market?
Pretty well nothing.
Okay.
Some of the things that have happened, probably not just this year, I would say over the last 5 years, it's become more the norm than not for no
Right.
home inspection. Our real estate documents and legal documents, encourage people to have home inspection, but the reality is they
Right.
they can't have it. They can't really have financing conditions anymore if they're going to
Yep.
get the house. Um, as much as we recommend that they do, and we all in this industry are trying to work for our buyers, but if they really want the house, we have to find creative ways. So we do make sure our buyers are have a tight pre-approval, as tight as
Yep.
they can.
Do you see a lot of buyers submitting pre-authorization letters and whatnot with offers? Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Right in the core of Toronto, there's more tendency for them to ask for that, because the numbers are so high. They want to make sure that they have a banker there that's going to give them the ridiculous amount of money they need to buy
Right.
this thing to finance it. So yeah, um, one of the things buyers do, and what we do with, because we can't have these conditions, sometimes they'll have a second visit and they'll use that as a quasi home inspection, bring a contractor or bring even a home inspector,
Oh,
to a limited approach to taking a look
right.
at that.
Okay.
Um, but for the most part, it's taking a
Yes.
risk,
Yeah.
um, which doesn't feel very good for
Yeah.
it's not the right
No.
way to do it. But what are you going to do, right? And the problem is buyers will lose, two or three
Yep.
bids, because they want to have the home inspection, or they want a financing condition, or they are pulling back on not putting as high a price, as they just don't feel
Right.
good about
Yes.
it. But and they keep, you lose three or four or five houses on bids. You start to say, okay, I guess I have to take the plunge, right?
Yep.
Um,
That is happening
I'm trying
here.
to think of,
Not to the degree that you're discussing here today.
yeah,
I
yeah,
still have buyers can still submit offers with limited conditions. What we're seeing a tightening up of
yeah,
conditions. So where before the average was maybe about two
yeah,
weeks, we see a lot of 1 day for financing,
yeah,
um, or 1 day for a home
yeah,
inspection, or the home inspection is removed, but financing remains in, or financing is removed, but home inspections remains in. But the conditional periods maybe 3 or 4 business days to conduct all of that.
Now, in the condo market on that side,
Hmm.
it's not quite as heated. It's still pretty hot, and we do have, there's an ability to put conditions on these, particularly the status certificate. I don't know if you have that in Halifax, the same type of thing legally, but basically to see the financials of the condominium corporation and the health of the, whether there's any legal issues with it and things like that that the lawyer has to review. So there's a little bit, people understand the need to do that, even the sellers. So, and banks require that if they're going to finance a
Hmm.
condo. And you might not hit as much of that because you don't have that type of inventory, but that segment, which is a big segment, you're able to do that. But single, detached homes, semi-detached, things like
Yeah.
that, not a
We
lot. Sometimes you can do it. Sometimes you're lucky, and for some reason everyone went to sleep that day, and you're the only offer in there, and you know
Sometimes you can sneak one through. It's true. I mean, nothing
Yeah.
nothing is 100%. Nothing is ever 100% written in stone for
No.
sure. Speaking to the condos,
Yeah.
resale condos. So here we have a resale condo schedule that we attach to a lot of our agreements, and in that is outlines,
Okay.
the official condo corporation number, unit number, floor, parking
Yeah.
spot, whether it's deeded or reserved or
Yeah.
assigned. Sorry, same with storage and all that. And then, of course, in
Right.
that you request all your what we call
Right.
condo documents, which would be when we gather the information on reserve fund finances, meeting minutes, and condo declaration, bylaws, covenants, and all that stuff.
Right.
Even the condo markets,
Yeah.
although it's not as heated as it is with the single family homes here, it's still pretty heated here. And so what we find is happening now is a lot of homeowners will remove a lot of sellers will provide those documents up front, right? Of course. And then you have those in your hand. And then
Right.
what tends to happen is a lot of buyers just utilize their lawyer review, because the lawyer review is a condition both for the seller and the buyer. And they utilize their lawyer review to review all those documents. And so that's what happens here a lot. Yeah.
One of the other things that's happening, it doesn't feel like it's on the buyer side, but it helps the buyer and the seller, is pre-home inspections. They've become
Okay.
a bit of a norm in Toronto. So sellers go and they get a home inspection done, and they provide it to, potential buyers if they want it, and that really helps. It helps the seller too, because on offer night, people don't have to go through the angst of worrying about that, and then the seller's not hiding anything and things like that. So it helps move this along, and the buyers get a comfort level. So yeah, it is the seller's independent home inspector, but most home inspectors that are in the industry are pretty ethical, and they're governed by some laws anyway. So
you hear all these rumors about purchasing a home in the Toronto area. You have to show up with your deposit, otherwise, and check in hand and hand it to the seller right away. Otherwise, your offer won't be accepted and stuff like that. That's all hogwash, right?
There's some of
is there?
some of that. Like for the most part, when we sell homes, like when we're the listing agent, we don't ask for the buyer deposit up front. But we want it in 24 hours, of course, once the deal's done. But there's enough of that. When some of these offers, down in the Toronto, it's crazy. Like it's not uncommon to have a home that's detached home in a reasonably good area going for 20, 25 offers. Are coming in. So the sellers or the sellers agents, some of them are pretty picky, and they start to say, I want to see the check up front. So then you get all these 25 agents and buyers going to the bank and getting bank drafts. And oh my God.
Wow.
It's not, we don't do that, but there are definitely agents that, and they can do it. That's the problem, because they've got this, prime situation where everyone wants what they're selling, right?
Yeah. I want to talk about appraisals, actually, because you had mentioned that most of the time buyers just remove all conditions, and one of those would be financing. So how do appraisals, or how have you found appraisals affecting buyers for an unconditional offer, or even a conditional offer? I mean, do homes appraise out where you'd like them to appraise out, or where they should appraise out, or an offer price, I should say?
They have, because the increases have been consistently going up month over month over month. So by the time they do the appraisal, a month later or whatever they do it, the price is up. So even if they conservatively appraise, they're still going to be okay. So it hasn't been a problem. Back in 2017, it was a bit of a pause in the market. There were some problems because the banks were were coming in lower than the purchase price because the market shifted. And in Toronto, I don't know about Halifax, but that's the thing. Toronto, when the market shifts, when the wind changes, it shifts within a week. Like that's how fast the market. We had some clients that had, because you can't, they don't, no one wants, this is the same thing in this market. No one wants to sell unless they buy because they want to get the house they want, right? So they buy first and then they sell. And so there were clients that were buying and waited a month before they put their house on the market, and then the market had changed, and it changed 10-15% during that little period there. It came back, but in the moment they have to move, right? So not to belabor that, but that point, that's where the risk is to me, is anyone who's buying first and they're counting on the sell being the same market. Will get it on be ready to put it on the market right away.
Right. Once you find,
the day after.
That's sage advice for sure. We work with a lot of sellers who want to sell, but they don't have anywhere to go, so they want to buy something first, and then they wait to list their property. In fact, I'm discussing right now with a few different potential sellers who want to go ahead and find something first before they sell. You have those conversations with your sellers. So you don't know what the market's going to be like in 3 months. We don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
I'm sure what we're discussing today is definitely going to provide some insight overall. And that actually happened to me with a client of mine last summer, where they were buying and selling at the same time, and that was when the market here just sort of plateaued, didn't go up, but didn't go down either. Yep. And we were banking on 20 offers coming in for the house, and we only had one offer come in for the house, and that was we were shocked. We were blown away by that. The sellers still did okay. I mean, they were still happy, and they were able to move into their brand new home, and everybody was happy, and the buyer of their home was happy, and so I mean, it all worked out. But it is that time in somebody's life is one of the most emotional times in their life, therefore making it one of the most stressful times of their life. And you don't want to add more stress to it if you don't have to.
And one of the only other issues with appraisals that I would say is prevalent problems is new construction. So in Toronto, like if you wanted to buy a new construction, it's still hot as well. And you have to buy it now, and you might get that built in 2 years. You might actually move in 2 years. You might. It might be 3. So now you have this, if you're a resale, you have this house of yours, and you got to forecast what the heck is going to happen in 2 years when you want to sell this. And what's the new construction going to be worth, and blah, blah, blah. So that's a challenge. And it's always been there, but it's worse now because the construction industry's so busy in Toronto. We have more cranes in Toronto than anywhere in North America at any one time, apparently. That was the last I'd heard. So they're just building condos and housing developments all over the place. So it's busy trying to catch up with supply, right?
I've been told that actually. We met with a couple of developers out of the Toronto area back in the fall, and they said that. They said Toronto has the most cranes in the sky. They're very proud of it.
Yeah, I know. And we also have the worst traffic. So we have those two things.
Yeah. My commute. I used to live in Toronto. I don't know if I mentioned that. I used to live there. My commute was it was about 2.5 hours one way when I just before I left. It was crazy.